here we go. Okay, welcome. So, if I'm tracking, this is class number 2 of level 2 of drawing sacred geometry with Portland Community College. And today is the geometry of time travel. Today we're doing the tesseract, which is the hypercube, which is an 8-fold geometry. It is a shape that does not exist in this dimensional reality. We're going to have some fun. But before we do that, let's drop into these physical forms. I want to invite you to pause and step back and close your eyes and turn your attention inward, giving yourself a few moments of some nice deep breaths. Letting yourself drop in fully, taking deep breaths through your nose, inhalations through your nose, and releasing out your mouth. Maybe making a sigh, letting go. Becoming aware of the present moment. Becoming aware of yourself in the present moments, all the parts of you, your mental body, your emotional body, your energy body, your spiritual body. Bringing it all together into your awareness, using the breath to connect with all these parts of us that we are disconnected from. Relaxing into the surface supporting you, breathing a deep belly breath. Simultaneously activating your system with the in-breath and releasing and relaxing with the out-breath. Becoming alert and yet at ease, finding the spaciousness in the breath to take a little inventory and see how you're showing up. Decide how you would like to continue on. Perhaps letting go of all the to-dos and must-dos and shifting into being and into a receptive state of allowing for the perfect amount of intelligence to come into your system, knowing that your highest activation is happening here. Giving a moment of gratitude deep within your heart, the opportunity to expand in a loving, easeful, gentle way. I'm thankful for the opportunity to be together with an amazing group of humans. As you're ready, and come on back to our visual field. I was at a prayer circle in Sedona. They happen quite a lot, and I'm fairly saturated with prayer circles. Just like done with ceremony. But this one was for the planet, and I thought, okay, I'll go. And my God, I just got there and wanted to leave like instantly, but I'll hang in there. And there was just so much like commotion and the singing and the co-creation. I was just overwhelmed. And I said to the facilitator, I said, can we just have some quiet? Can we just have a moment of silence? So she's like, Nadi's going to lead us in silence. I'm like, okay, whatever. Too much ceremony. So all right, let's get into it. Let's do our check-in, and if you have things to share, and if not, whatever feels right for you, no pressure, no requirements. I would just love to hear from everybody as to how you're doing. And anybody can start us off. Summer had started sharing before we started the recording, so I'm going to invite you, Summer, to pick up where you left off and say a little bit of the story again.
Okay, so I've been working on some drawings that I was working on in the past already. And so I have one drawing that I've been working on that I've been coloring.
Woohoo! All right. Oh boy. Oh boy. Yes. Oh, that's the spiky one. Okay, so
It's
that
my
turned into
spiky
that.
one. So I
Yeah.
did the spiky in black. And
Hmm.
then I just the coloring, the way that I colored it is kind of weird, but I kind of like it.
Hmm.
Because my pink pen started dying.
Okay.
So I said, all right, I'll find a red pen then.
I love
And
it.
then I also have this one that my best friend drew when we hung out
Wow.
for my birthday.
Wow.
And
Wow. Wow. Wow.
then, isn't that
Yeah.
fun? I couldn't believe
Super
it. She kept
fun.
going on it. And I was like, oh my God, you are an artiste, Miss Michelle. And then I colored this one.
Oh, beautiful. 7 points. Yes. Nice.
I had a really fun time with this one. I was feeling very much like in my heart chakra. And I was like, this is my heart chakra star.
Yeah. Oh, it's
Throwing
beautiful.
love everywhere.
It's
And
just
then I started coloring
radiating with the shading. Yeah.
and then
Oh,
I started
nice.
coloring the pentagram.
Woo! Nice.
I really was, I've been having a hard time like in my own personal life, and this whole sacred geometry has been definitely a good release of just my personal stresses.
Mm.
So I think that's why I'm going so hard in drawing, because I'm like, ugh.
Yeah. Well, it's wonderful. I mean, it's meditation, it's distraction. I mean, you could be watching YouTubes and getting all caught up in the world of distraction. So focusing inward and channeling your energies is just brilliant in this day and age. I'm happy to hear you're taking advantage of it. That's great. Here, I really quick, I just want to show you. I know I'm searching and you guys can't see this, but let me share a crop circle that that um, your drawing reminds me of, and I'm just okay. We're gonna find it here. Um, let's see. Okay, so I'm gonna screen share. Um, oh boy, I'm not gonna be able to find it, but here we go. Okay, so kind of like that. Little bit. It's not the center, but it's got those spiky bits. So that's when I saw yours, I was like, ooh, I remember that galactic thing. Very cool. All right. Let's see. We'll come off of. Ooh, that was confusing. Screen share. Okay, so thank you for starting us off. And who is up for going next? Oh, yeah, Karen. Hi there.
Hi.
Hey.
Summer, would you mind showing the seed of life with the crisscrosses over it again? I just That's really cool. All right, I'm just having a senior moment here. Did we learn how to do the crisscrosses over this?
No, we
I
did
just
not
did
learn it.
that.
So I drew my
So
flower
how?
of life, and then Nadi had said something about how the pointed triangles were like the skeleton of the flower of life, and I just was like, okay, where's
Wow,
that Where's that skeleton? I'm gonna find it.
beautiful.
Yeah, that's
That's
pretty
really
impressive.
that's
I
really
know, I
cool.
kind of blew my own mind, but when I was getting it done, I was like, holy shit, I'm drawing this right now.
That's It probably just happened organically, just like
Yeah.
that's really cool. I want to try that.
Yeah.
It is very meditative because I started with just the triangles, and then I realized that the triangles are just straight lines through each outer area of each petal. And so I was like, wait a second, I don't have to draw the triangles. I can just draw straight lines. And then I was like, wait, but and then it was just like a triangle, straight lines, triangles.
Yeah.
And then in between there, you just let go.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. It does
Yeah.
that. It just, you get like carried away because, I believe the the geometry is informing us, right? And when we're hearing it, we're creating our sensory capacities, right? To listen to those other types of languages. And so that's awesome. And we're going to draw that next week. So you don't have to bushwhack it. We're going to draw it step by step, the 2D one, and then also the 3D version of it.
What Summer just did.
Yes.
Cool.
A little bit different, and you'll see some of the dimensionality. I'll give you a little preview at the end so that you can see that. But yeah, we're going to draw that next week, so you don't have to figure it out the hard way. We'll do it step by step. Yeah. How are you doing?
Doing good. I think that my lesson in what the sacred geometry and drawing it is just highlighting for me is that letting go, and then I can see the lines and feel the lines and draw the lines, because I missed last Wednesday, so I was catching up and doing the work, and there was just one piece that, I mean, it was very simple, but still my mind started to get in there, which it does.
It
And then
does.
it kind of blocks me. I mean, it's just the simple one, but I just
Oh wow, yeah, that's not so simple,
but where I with some of these, the parallel lines, I just all of a sudden let go. And in that moment of letting go, I drew.
Oh, Karen, starting us off deep. All right.
So
The depth of you all this is why I do this classes. It's so beautiful what you all bring. Okay, so in the letting go, and that's in the letting go was some serious beauty. Why don't you just take that to the average bear and go, this is really simple. Because it doesn't look simple. It looks really beautiful and pretty complex.
So
wow.
So that
Awesome.
that was my big thing.
Thank you for the existential perspective. Appreciate that. Always
you are welcome.
Appreciate that. Yes. In the letting go. What was sorry, I got so excited. In the letting go is that's when it came.
In the letting go, I could draw.
Oh,
I felt it. I did it. I didn't think it.
Oh, beautiful. All right. Thank you so much. We'll run with that one. Okay. Leiko and Madeline, how are you doing? How is everyone? All right, Madeline's going to jump in.
I'm well. I'm kind of tired too. Very sleepy today as well. I'm always just keeping my eyes out for things that I wouldn't have noticed in the same way. And I did see this drone footage this week of whales doing the Fibonacci circle.
Wow, really?
So someone took their camera, did like in the ocean, and could see these they would like swim and release bubbles.
Uh-huh.
And it was like spiraling in a Fibonacci circle.
Oh, wow. Could you find that and send it to me, and then I could send it to everyone? Maybe.
Sure.
Don't worry if you can't.
I'll make a note to remind myself. But
well, if you do, great.
But I just keep seeing things cross my path that it's just a reminder of all of this amazing stuff happening. So
brilliant.
I didn't do very much drawing this week, but I just kind of went back and did what did we do? Just kind of a review of what we did in class with the pentagrams, but I was really focused on the pentagons, and I can see more in here that I want to find and just kind of like highlight the pentagons, which are like,
hang on, let me get that big. Woo! Oh, woo! That's beautiful.
So I'm just I can see there's some more in there, and I'm just trying to find them because I don't know, I was feeling the gold pentagons for that shape. Nice. So
nice. Those are beautiful, nice and big, really big ones.
Yeah, I did. Yeah. So you said in class we did a 3-inch, and you said you could try this again with 5-inch. So it took up perfectly the page. So
totally. Yeah. Wonderful. Maybe I'll change the measurements on the ones that we do in class. You didn't run into any problems with a compass or opening or anything?
Nope. Okay. That's 5 inches on the paper. So
love it. Yeah, we're gonna go bigger from now on. That's so beautiful.
Yeah, because we did in class, we were doing the 3-inch.
Yeah.
For that shape that we did, like the class where we all did the thing. And I actually went back and colored that in a little bit more too.
I love it. Oh, wait, I'm sorry. I was just staring. Wait, hang on. Don't go anywhere. I didn't spotlight it. Okay. Oh, yeah. And you said those were colors you don't normally use, which is interesting.
I never use those colors.
Yeah.
It's funny.
I love the little one in there because we didn't do that fractalizing with the heptagram. Oh, man, that thing is dimensional. Oh, I'm just, whoa. That's awesome. Oh,
So,
lovely. I know, I'm
yep.
such a dork. I get so excited about all of them. But that one, I was just seeing the different planes in a way that I don't usually see. So that was
Interesting.
fun. Yeah.
Yeah. And I have been leaving these out and just walking by them like we've been saying, and it's really, it's like I get drawn into them. Just walking by, I have to like stop and
Yeah.
look. So yeah.
Yeah. Stop and say hello. Your friends are hanging out. Yeah. You know, there's gosh, those are beautiful. There's when we draw together in a room and you look to the side at the person next to you like they're drawing, it looks so different than the shape you're doing. And when we're on Zoom, it's that same effect, right? Like it was completely different in the camera than the one that's in front of you. I love that. Ah, thank you. Brilliant. Love leaving it out. Love just the awareness, and I really want to see those whales.
Okay.
All
I'll
right.
find it.
Okay. Yeah, no pressure if you don't, I know. Thank you. All right, Leiko, how are you doing? Are you feeling better?
Yeah, I'm starting to get better. I'm coughing a lot, but I'm starting to feel better.
Good.
So this week I was looking at this there's a free online astro herbalism mini course that Sage Popham is offering through his School of Evolutionary Herbalism. And I took a couple of classes from him, but in this mini course, I noticed that they matched up, like he breaks down like earth, water, fire, and he matches it with platonic solids. So earth is matched with the cube, water's the icosahedron, fire's the tetrahedron, air's the octahedron, and ether's the dodecahedron. So thought that was neat that now I have I can try to apply my sacred geometry to my herbalism studies and kind of match that up and try to understand more about that. But that was really neat.
Oh, that is so neat that it's in herbalism, right? Because it's all of it. It's everything, right? It weaves its way and becomes evident the more you study something, the more you're going to find the geometry of it. Yeah. But you know what I really love is that you're just like all of you're just like dropping the lingo, right? Like air and the octahedron and the dodecahedron and ether. It's like it's just another language now. And I just, because it's been a couple weeks and you're getting the hang of it, and it's so great to see that. So what was the herbalism? What was it was like a symposium? What was it?
It's the School of Evolutionary Herbalism, and he has a free mini course. He does an astro herbalism course. I didn't take that one, but I'm signed up for his two of his other courses. But this is like a free intro to that course, but it's really informational. It's just a little mini herbalism course, and it's free. You can sign up and take it. And I think that he'll pull it down in a couple of weeks whenever he promotes his other course. But you can save all the PDFs. So I just downloaded everything and have it all
Nice.
saved.
Yeah.
There's a little video lesson that explains it.
So you're saying astro herbalism, right?
Yes.
Those
Yeah.
are two things I would not have put together. That's so interesting. Okay. Good. I'm glad you're feeling better, and crossbreeding. It's just everywhere, right? There's just nothing that doesn't have geometry. That's why it's so cool. All right. So let's get into the tesseract. How many of you are familiar with A Wrinkle in Time? Everybody read it or see it? There's like decades ago, and then they did a remix. Okay. So the first sentence in the book, The Wrinkle in Time, the story is two scientists are playing around with time travel, and the husband figures out how to time travel. He figures out how to go, but he can't get back, and he gets lost. And so then the wife has like determined to go find him and figure out time travel. And so the first line of the book is the tesseract is real, right? So this stuff is real. Like it's going to sound a little sci-fi, quote unquote, but we're talking about actual physical and non-physical manipulation of space-time. And what this class is designed to do is we want to break our brains. Oh, I forgot to get my thing. I got to go grab a piece of paper. So this shape, the tesseract is a fourth dimensional shape. We live in the third dimension. This thing doesn't actually exist here. So what this class is going to ask of us is to step outside the limitations of the third dimension and contemplate other dimensional realities, right? So that's there's the newness of that, even if you've contemplated it before. This is just a new application. And then breaking the construct of time is nearly impossible for us because time is woven into everything that we do. And so it's challenging to conceptualize. That lighting is going to drive me nuts. It's challenging to conceptualize, but the idea is just to scramble a little bit. Just scramble, let yourself be scrambled, because in the scramble is a little bit of space to have a different experience of time and space. So forgive me, I forgot to grab the piece of paper. Let me go run in the other room. I'm going to get that. And then, you know what, let me just put a slide up so you can stare at a tesseract for a minute. And I have to do, no, I'm not going to do that just yet. All right, so we'll just stare at it for a minute and then I'll be right back. See if you can, we're going to do an exercise in a little minute to play with our perceptual reality, but see if you can just notice the different cubes and the different shapes, right? So the different colors, highlight them and just play with that for a second. Watch yourself go back and forth between the different shapes. Okay. Okay. So I'm going to be reading, I'm going to show you images, and I'm going to be reading some basically channeled information from an advanced civilization. And so we're going to look at the tesseract, and then I'm going to just read these pieces of information to kind of back up what I'm saying and help you gain like appreciation for the esoteric elements of this shape, right? There's the 3D geometry that we're going to draw, but there's also the otherworldly elements of this. So we were looking at this for long enough. We'll do this. Okay. So in geometry and physics, the tesseract is the 4-dimensional analog of the cube. So the tesseract is to the cube as the cube is to the square, right? If we're talking about different dimensions. Just as the surfaces of the cube consist of 6 square faces, the hypersurface of the tesseract consists of 8 cubical cells, or 8 faces, which cannot exist in our reality, right? Now, let me see. Let's see. I think, do we want to watch this yet? No, I think we're going to look at a couple more tesseracts. Okay, so the tesseract is the 4th dimension, while the cube represents the physical or 3rd dimension. In the 4th dimension, there are multiple realities which are going on simultaneously, right? There is no such thing as time beyond the 3rd dimension. It's a man-made construct. The tesseract or hypercube transcends time and place and can hold multiple definable locations and appearances, right? So we're really trying to stretch our imagination here. That blows my mind. Okay. The truth is that the hypercube 8-fold geometry is a vibrational waveform signature. We can say that it is the spirit or astral dimension which coexists simultaneously with the physical level of reality. All right. Yes, this is supposed to twist your brain into knots. Okay, can't get that to work any better. No coincidence that the 8-fold geometry holds the information of multiple important elements relating to sacred geometry, harmonics, physics, chemistry, and spirituality. Okay, maybe that'll help. All right. If an individual chooses to look within her or himself, they can use this knowledge for alchemical processes relating to spiritual development and unlocking vast resources of energy potential. Right, so these, just like all of the other geometries we've studied, you know, these have the ability for, you know, transcendental experiences, right? If you work with these geometries, forgive me if you're noticing me, I'm just trying to work with my lighting. These are codes, these are gates, right? This is a portal. Here's a portal on top of a mountain. The tesseract represents cosmic intelligence and cosmic knowledge of all that is. It is this cosmic intelligence that is able to shape, sculpt, and transform all elements. By going into the center of yourself, you will be able to use and apply the intuition and spiritual consciousness to evolve and grow. The spiritual intelligence that the 8-star conveys is the realization of a process that is occurring outside of worldly time. Last one. This is the awakening of divine processes that flow throughout all creation. As humans collectively remember what is beyond the material and temporal, they are acquainted and anointed with the true oil or essence which sits at the pineal gland of the brain. This is the gland which is the center of true intelligence and knowledge, and by activating this gland, humans are able to be connected to the original element, original essence. So I got to do this a little bit. So are these terms, is everybody familiar with the pineal gland and the activation? Yeah, spirit, don't feel, if you're not, don't worry about it. We're talking about esoteric information. And that reading, I'm sorry, I'm so frustrated by my lighting, that information is hinting at the depths that these shapes can take us, right? I mean, this is not new in a sense. All of the geometries that we've been studying have that implication. If you work with them, if you just walk by them sitting in your hallway, they are influencing our psyche. We are allowing them to by taking this class. So the tesseract is just kind of next level because it's asking us to move beyond the construct of time, move beyond this dimension, right? That, you know, in everywhere else, time does not exist. Time is a third dimensional construct that is binding and limiting, right? And so we want to see if we can flex that a little bit and bend that bounds, not the boundary, bend the bonds, the bondage, right? We are contained in ways that are not reflective of the true infinite nature that we are. And so when you start to chip away at the idea, the construct of time, there is expansion that can happen, right? All of the geometry, all of what I teach, every single class that I teach is for our expansion, right? It's time, it's fundamental. We're talking about individual expansion, but also, as we know, as we rise, everyone rises, right? Our collective vibrational frequency, when we expand and uplift, this is the ascension process, all of us getting higher and, vibing higher. It's a collective experience here, and boy, do we need it. We need all the help we can get. So it's really important that we study the hypercube and transcend time and space. Maybe even get out of Dodge. You don't know. Here we go. It's just, woo! I struggle with being on this planet sometimes. So I love the Sri Yantra. I love the tesseract. I love geometries that help remind me that there is so much else going on. There's just like, we just have these little blinders. Do you know Anita Morjani? She's wonderful. She often moves with Bruce Lipton and Greg Braden. She had a near-death experience, and she came back, like many experiencers do. She just had this new perspective, and what she was shown was like, if any of you remember Indiana Jones and the Indiana Jones, right, the original, where at the very end of the movie, they're taking the ark into this huge warehouse. You could just think of Walmart or something huge, like 10 Walmarts. And what she said is that it's completely dark. This was the image she was shown. It's completely dark, and that our vision is like a flashlight, right? And so all we see are these little bits of focus, right, of reality. And so the geometry is asking us to like broaden our perspective, broaden our focus, and broaden what's illuminated, right? So much is going on here. And now we're going to see a little video that kind of simplifies it because Carl Sagan and Edgar Abbott were talking about this decades ago. Many people have been talking about this. I'm kind of going on and on. So we're going to watch this. It's like a 4-minute video. I love it. Here we go. Let me get back to it. It really is a nice like simplification so that we can get it from a bunch of different angles. Here we go. Edward Abbott had that wrong.
We live in a three-dimensional world where everything has length, width, and height. But what if our world were two-dimensional? We would be squashed down to occupy a single plane of existence, geometrically speaking, of course. And what would that world look and feel like? This is the premise of Edwin Abbott's 1884 novella, Flatland. Flatland is a fun mathematical thought experiment that follows the trials and tribulations of a square exposed to the third dimension. But what is a dimension anyway? For our purposes, a dimension is a direction, which we can picture as a line. For our direction to be a dimension, it has to be at right angles to all other dimensions. So a one-dimensional space is just a line. A two-dimensional space is defined by two perpendicular lines, which describe a flat plane, like a piece of paper. And a three-dimensional space adds a third perpendicular line, which gives us height and the world we're familiar with. So what about 4 dimensions, and 5, and 11? Where do we put these new perpendicular lines? This is where Flatland can help us. Let's look at our square protagonist's world. Flatland is populated by geometric shapes ranging from isosceles triangles to equilateral triangles to squares, pentagons, hexagons, all the way up to circles. These shapes are all scurrying around a flat world, living their flat lives. They have a single eye on the front of their faces, and let's see what the world looks like from their perspective. What they see is essentially one dimension, a line. But in Abbott's Flatland, closer objects are brighter, and that's how they see depth. So a triangle looks different from a square, looks different from a circle, and so on. Their brains cannot comprehend the third dimension. In fact, they vehemently deny its existence because it's simply not part of their world or experience. But all they need, as it turns out, is a little boost. One day, a sphere shows up in Flatland to visit our square hero. Here's what it looks like when the sphere passes through Flatland from the square's perspective. And this blows his little square mind. Then, the sphere lifts the square into the third dimension, the height direction where no Flatlander has gone before, and shows him his world. From up here, the square can see everything. The shapes of buildings, all the precious gems hidden in the earth, and even the insides of his friends, which is probably pretty awkward. Once the hapless square comes to terms with the third dimension, he begs his host to help him visit the fourth and higher dimensions. But the sphere bristles at the mere suggestion of dimensions higher than 3 and exiles the square back to Flatland. Now, the sphere's indignation is understandable. The fourth dimension is very difficult to reconcile with our experience of the world. Short of being lifted into the fourth dimension by a visiting hypercube, we can't experience it. But we can get close. You'll recall that when the sphere first visited the second dimension, he looked like a series of circles that started as a point when he touched Flatland, grew bigger until he was halfway through, and then shrank smaller again. We can think of this visit as a series of 2D cross-sections of a 3D object. Well, we can do the same thing in the third dimension with a 4-dimensional object. Let's say that a hypersphere is the 4D equivalent of a 3D sphere. When the 4D object passes through the third dimension, it'll look something like this. Let's look at one more way of representing a 4-dimensional object. Let's say we have a point, a 0-dimensional shape. Now we extend it out 1 inch, and we have a 1-dimensional line segment. Extend the whole line segment by 1 inch, and we get a 2D square. Take the whole square and extend it out 1 inch, and we get a 3D cube. You can see where we're going with this. Take the whole cube and extend it out 1 inch, this time perpendicular to all 3 existing directions, and we get a 4D hypercube, also called a tesseract. For all we know, there could be 4-dimensional life forms somewhere out there, occasionally poking their heads into our bustling 3D world and wondering what all the fuss is about. In fact, there could be whole other four-dimensional worlds beyond our detection, hidden from us forever by the nature of our perception. Doesn't that blow your little spherical mind?
Yes. Hidden forever by the limitations of our perspective, perceptual abilities. That just says it all, you know? Every time I watch that, that little sphere where he's like, like, I'm like, you know, is there something out there? That it makes it really clear, that video, right? Like it's our limitation. It's right here. There's parallels and analogies. And I realized that, like, I don't know, I've been teaching this class for, I don't know, like 7 years now. It is safe to say I still don't understand tesseracts, like, because it bends time, and part of me just wants to go, like, you're not gonna, like, it's really more likely that you're not gonna get the tesseract and how it is in time and space, just mostly because I'm aware that I barely get it, and I just think, given the scope of what it covers, that's probably reasonable. So okay, so a couple more slides and then we'll get into drawing. Let me just undo this so I can see you guys. All right. And there's one more video we're gonna watch, which is really brain breaking, but we're not there yet. These are all the different iterations of the tesseract, right? It folds in on itself. It's kind of hard to conceptualize again, but the cubes, here's the best way to conceptualize it. This, sort of. This is part of an animation of how the cube folds in and opens and creates this portal. I don't know if any of you are familiar with the Avengers movies, but it's the Tesseract is in the Avengers movies as well. It's literally the let me come out of this. It's literally the mechanism for time travel, right? And if you have the Tesseract, if you have this little cube, you kind of control the world and letting the bad guys out or the good guys and all of this. So it's, you know, media is disclosure in plain sight, right? This thing is real. Yeah, we dress it up into like Marvel characters, but the tesseract is real. So at some point, like down the line, we'll get some sort of you know, probably the particle collider will turn out to be a time travel portal, and we'll all go, I know about that stuff, I learned it in a sacred geometry class. So, you know, that thing is doing a lot more than just smashing particles. You know, we're all a little suspicious. Okay, what was I going to show you? What is it? Okay. Oh, here's what we're going to do. We're going to do a, why doesn't it want to go away? Okay, we're going to do an exercise. And we're going to, I'm just going to, for a minute, we're just going to stare at this cube, right? This is an exercise in opening up perspective. And we're going to practice that our minds will go from seeing, at one moment, you'll see the front of the cube point down to the bottom left, and then you'll see the front of the cube point up to the top right. So we're just going to stare at this thing and play with watching our brains and what they do. So literally just for, you know, I'll just set a timer for a minute and a half. Notice what your mind does, right? Bring in this witness and this observing self as you take some nice deep breaths. And I'm going to be quiet so that we can have some moments of silence and just experience this thing. So I'll pop in every now and then and remind you to breathe. Just watch for a minute. Take a nice deep breath. Notice how trippy it is. Okay, wrapping it up, come together and see what happened. All right. What was that like? What'd you notice?
I noticed that it was kind of like I would stare at it for a second and it would sit as at the lower, it was like bouncing back and forth in like almost like a pattern, like a flow. I was looking upwards and then I was looking downwards and I was thinking, okay, is it gonna go back up? Oh wait, there it goes back up again. Oh, there it goes back down again. Ooh. It was like flowing.
I noticed
Nice.
the same. I noticed the same, and then I also noticed it would jump. Like I would think it would unexpectedly jump to the other one and then back quickly.
Right.
Totally.
Right. Do you feel like you were just watching, sort of watching it happen? Did you feel like you had control over it at all?
Mostly I did, but there were times when it would jump. I felt like I could control it, but then I'd be like, oops, oh, it would,
Mhm. Mhm.
yeah.
Yeah.
Similar things, that flow, and where I could see it move and then it kind of moved on its own. It kind of was a mishmash.
Mhm. Yeah. Leiko, how was it? You haven't, yeah, tell me to, were you able to do it at all? Okay, yeah. It's, every time I show that slide, I play this game where I try to stay on one color and I can't. And it just begs the question, like, who's doing that? Like, who's in charge of which perspective, you know? And I do not believe that it is, so far, I can't, it's not under my conscious control. There's something else switching hemispheres, switching focus. And so it's, this is one of the different exercises of like, can you shift your perspective? Can you make a little bit more space to see something different? And then as we're doing that with these little drawings, what's the application for, you know, living in the world and making more space to see something in a different way? All of these different things. All right, let's see what we've got next. I can't remember. I know we have another video before we get into drawing because I want to see it. Oh yeah, so this is just another way of playing similar thing, different perspective, where sometimes you will see the cube as, sometimes there's a three-sided wall with a sugar cube sticking out of it. And then sometimes there's a full cube with a three-sided divot, right? That gives you the perspective of a divot versus a protrusion. And so just playing around and then observing, like, what is going on, right? Who's in charge? Like, you know, and just, it's part of that reclaiming that I used to talk about so long ago, that I was talking about with bringing your conscious awareness, kind of like what Madeline was talking about in her check-in, like just so much, just noticing here's the small micro and then the implications for the macro, and just starting to question, how much do I see? How much can I shift? How much do I not see? You know? And so this is, I think, you know, one of the tricks of Escher was he would play in those dimensional, bending, you know, the manipulation of the different perspectives. And so that's it. It's, you know, the invitation is to flex, and we don't do this in the world. There is nothing in the world. Well, not in everyday, like day-to-day life, usually. Can't speak in absolutes, but we aren't challenged to think outside of our constructs very often. In fact, it's quite designed that we don't. So it's very important that we play around with this stuff. And this is just fun. I just love this one. This is actually the heptagon that we did last year. Oh God. Okay, last week. So much, you know, fun geometry. And I just really love this one. I think it should be in last week's class though, but it's just kind of an infinity geometry that's supposed to break your brain. I think that's what I put it in there for. And we're going to draw it the fun way, the really pretty way, but you can, of course, draw it this way where you just draw two cubes and then connect them with a bunch of lines. Not as fun at all. we're not going to watch that. But I'm just going to show you this little animation. This is about 2 minutes long, and I have to come out of screen share in order to optimize the video. And then we're going to get into drawing. But this is a really fun way to try and visualize something that we can't really visualize.
You're watching this on a flat, two-dimensional computer monitor. Yet we accept this picture as a representation of 3 dimensions displayed on a two-dimensional monitor. In 3 dimensions, it is not possible to have 4 axes, each of which is 90 degrees to the other 3. Yet as with 3 dimensions on a two-dimensional monitor, we can accept that this is a representation of 4 dimensions. Skeptical?
Yes.
You're watching this on a flat, two-dimensional computer monitor. Yet we accept this picture as a representation of 3 dimensions displayed on a two-dimensional monitor. In 3 dimensions, it is not possible to have 4 axes, each of which is 90 degrees to the other 3.
Oh, God, it hurts. Oh. Oh.
If you remove any one of the 4 axes, you will go back to 3 axes, each of which is 90 degrees to the other 2. If you remove any one of the 4 axes, you will go back to 3 axes, each of which is 90 degrees to the other 2. If you remove any one of the 4 axes, you will go back to 3 axes, each of which is 90 degrees to the other 2. Therefore, each of the 4 axes is 90 degrees to each of the other 3.
Nope. Okay. So, no, we're done with that. Where's my screen share? Oh, I can't see you guys because I optimize. Oh, this drives me nuts. How do I? All right. Now we get confused. Okay. Anyway, screen share. There it is. What do you think of that? Yes, Madeline, that is the face. I mean, I watched that thing, and what I've come to decide is that kind of ouch thing, that's good. Like, that's a good sign, but that's as close as I come to understanding it. Isn't it like just brain breaky? Oof. I love it.
I can't put it into words because my brain just kind of goes whoop.
Yeah. That's a nice sound. Mine goes like like I don't know if that's just the space I'm in, but I see that diagram and it kind of hurts, and I know that that's a good thing. And I was realizing, like, I feel like I understand this shape intuitively, and I'm never going to get it linearly, because I know it's really important. I know it exists. I can sense a dimensional bending shape. But when I look at that video, I can't, like, I mean, it's years now and I can't, like, it's a little more every time, but I'm saying all of this so that if it's not making sense, that's good. It's not designed to make sense. Okay. I think we're getting, oh no, I wanted to show just a little bit of art, just to, some neural pathways, just to show you some of the drawings that we can do. Yes, and you'll see this type of arts in, Muslim and Arabic traditions, is the eightfold geometries, the octagons, this is a self-repeating pattern in a sense. And we're going to draw the shape through this stage. And so I will hopefully point it out. But the reason, like I said, that we do it this way is because each point is so pretty that you could stop and do art in and of itself, right? So just lots of ways to play with the shape, lots of cultures that really revere this pattern. You see it in Western art as well, but you really see it. I need more slides. This is a silly little piece of art. I used to take apart clock faces and then do tesseracts to just sort of laugh in the face of time. It's my joy. And then this was a happy period. You remember, I'm always talking about, like, intentioning and drawing the geometry, and you've got this beautiful infinity, time dilation. So let's just set the intentions forward, pave that stuff, because my goodness, I do need some faith these days. Okay, so let's get into drawing. All right, hang on. Anybody got any questions or thoughts or perspectives, anything that's hit you along the way of this, all this information? It's a lot of information. Yeah.
This might be, and I don't know, is the tesseract the only, so it's a cube, but are there any other shapes that have the same, like, is there a triangle, is there like a pyramid equivalent of a tesseract?
I'm not familiar with it. Like the pyramid or the tetrahedron, you can get this sort of tessellating infinite expansion geometry, which probably could be used with time travel somehow. Like if you want to talk about like gravitational manipulation, right? I'm sure that tapping into black holes, and there's some geometry of that, but this is the one that I think is most accessible for us to try and grok.
I don't understand the physics of it. I'm just wondering what makes the cube the source shape of it to expand from. That was just my question. If you
no, it's a great line of inquiry. Like, go forth and research, yeah. Like I found out the other day that there's a 6 platonic elements, right? So that we don't even know things. We kind of know things and we really don't. That's a great question though. Okay, other thoughts before we dive into our tesseract drawing? Spend a little time and space here. Okay, let me see, where did I get my sequencing? I don't think I got my sequencing. Okay, we'll just open this up. Those are crop circles. We don't want that. We want, sorry, I thought I had opened this. Sequences. Oops, tesseract is its own class. So here we go. Okay, great. Let me come back to here and open everything up. So if you'd like, as always, you can take that moment to pause and breathe and set an intention, should you be interested in that. All sorts of good opportunities and celestial bodies and Saturn and Venus and Mercury, all sorts of supercharged aspects. And we've got this eclipse coming up, so lots of opportunities for playing around with the astrological implications or alignments. Okay, so we are going to do what we usually do with finding the center of the page. So a 5.5 inch mark. And this one, we want the full center. So 5.5 inches on the vertical, and then 7 inches in from the right or left margin. And that's going to give you the center of the page. And I think probably you can, you can do this one larger, but I've started with a 2.5-inch radius, which gives us a 5-inch diameter circle. All right, so let's see. Looks like I drew a horizontal line first. I think yeah, I drew a horizontal line first. Let's do it this way. Go ahead and find the center of the page, right? Like with 5.5 on the vertical, and then make that point. And then on the right and left margins, like mark the 7-inch line, on the horizontal, right? Find your way to a horizontal line that cuts the plate. I'm sorry that I don't have that articulated enough, but okay, on the vertical, if in the center you mark 5.5, and then on the right and left margins, you mark 5.5, right? So that you have points on either side, because 7 inches is too long, 14 inches is too long for a ruler. So you want to use the right side and the center point and the left side and the center point to get yourself a horizontal line. Does not have to be perfect. We just want to find our way to a horizontal line and then that central circle. So you guys are professionals at this point and you can handle something that I can't quite explain this level. All right. And then you want to mark that A, and here's the disclaimer, right? Just as with the other shapes, we're going to be erasing most of it. So do draw lightly as you're getting used to that strategy by now. All right, so we've got horizontal line. Oh, it's great. There's 4 of you. I can keep you all in my gallery view. And you know that horizontal line does not have to be perfect by any means. Ouch. Okay. And we're going to have a ton of letters in this. So this is our first circle A. We've got heads down still. I don't want to. So we got good thumbs up on everybody. We got our circle and our horizontal line. Okay. Great.
How big do I open my compass up?
Exactly.
Yes, exactly. 2.5 inches on your compass.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. And then there's a nice 5-inch wide. It might look a little, I think it looks a little smaller here, but 5-inch diameter circle. Yeah, so 2.5 inches on your compass. Center of the page, nice, beautiful circle. All right. Love it. I love seeing all of your circles. Okay, we got that. So now what are we doing? Now we are going to put the compass at the intersection of circle A and the horizontal line on the right. That's going to be your compass point, and then that's going to give you circle B. Lettering nice and lightly. What are you doing? Okay, so we've got circle A and circle B, and then we're going to do the same thing on the left side. So over here on the left intersection of the circle and horizontal line, that's where our compass point's going to go. And we're going to get circle C. So 3 circles. Central circle is A, the right circle is B, and the left circle is C. All right, looking good. Nice, taking a deep breath. Ah, yeah, there we go. We got 3 circles. Okay, A, B, and C. Now, those 3 circles have created 4 intersections, right? 2 at the top and 2 at the bottom. And we're going to label those points. D at the top left, right? E is the top right. F is the bottom right. And G is the bottom left. Okay, so D, E, F, and G. Everybody got that? Sorry, they're written pretty small, but that's what we're doing. Okay. Okay, great. Got it, Summer? Leaning in. I want to make sure. D, E, F, and G. Okay, good. All right, we got those. We're gonna be going all the way up to Q, I think. So just get ready. Okay. Oh, you got it, Summer? I can't tell because you're leaning in. You all set? All right, we got thumbs up on everybody. Okay, clearly. All right. So, Summer, am I rushing you? Do you have them? I don't want to rush you. Oh, but I can't hear you. I'm just going by your general body language. Okay, thumbs up. Okay, so now we're going to use E as the compass point, and we're doing a hash mark up here, right? So you're going to put compass point at E, give it a little line, you know, like an inch long, and then we're going to flip, and the compass point is going to be on D. You guys are getting the hang of this, right? And so that'll give us an X marks the spot above, right? Professionals after the phi ratio using this trick. This is a geometer's trick, finding the next compass point. All right, so D and E, now we're going to flip to the bottom and do the same thing from F and G, making a hash mark down on the bottom. Right, so it's going to look like, well, I don't have a, it's the same slide. It'll get you an X marks the spot at the bottom, right? And then those are going to give you the coordinates. So I know why I didn't do that, because you don't really need them. You don't need the bottom so much, because you use that top X marks the spot and you line up your ruler with the point A, right? Because all you need are 2 points to make a line. And so you want to bisect the shape with a vertical line that goes all the way to the bottom of the page. And here's the deal. We're going to label the top X marks the spot as I. I'm going to label that up there. That's point I. And then we're going to label down below at that intersection mark, the cross X marks the spot. We're going to label that H. Right? And we don't really need those. What we need are J and K, which are where the inner circle intersects with that vertical line we just drew. Right? Those are the two important ones. Does that make sense? We've got J and K at the intersection of the vertical line and that central circle. Yeah. All right. How's it going? Madeline, where are we at? Got it? Okay, thumbs up. Summer? Good? Okay. All right. Lako, Karen, looks like good. Okay, awesome. So we're up to K. Now what are we doing? Okay, so those 2 points, J and K, they gave us the compass points for our next 2 circles, right? And here's where we create the first 4-sided geometry. Right now we've got these beautiful 4 circles. This is its own pause point for some lovely art, right? You could just enjoy this symmetrical pattern. I love this one. It's very beautiful. And then what are we doing? Okay, yes. So let me know when we've got those circles. We've got these beautiful petals right in the center that are this 4-fold petal shape, flower shape. Oh, all right. Nice. Taking a breath, taking it all in. Ah, there we go. Okay, right. It is meant to be relaxing. Okay, so we've got those. And that's those 4 circles where they intersect. We're going to alphabetize this as well. So the top left intersection, right? These are the 4 circles we just made. Top left is L. Top right is M. Bottom right intersection is N. And the bottom left intersection is O. Emotionally preparing, because we are going to erase. Just going to keep checking in about that. Okay, L, M, N, and O. And now what we're doing is we're going to bisect the shape, right? So diagonal lines through L and N on the left diagonal, and then on the right diagonal through M and O, going through the center of the shape. Also, very cool shape in and of itself to draw with. So now we have the shape cut into 4s, and now we have cut it into 8 segments. Okay, so we're working geometrically and alphabetically. And I want you to know it took me 3 different tries to get this drawing sequenced correctly. So the tesseract is a little squirrely. It's like we said at the beginning, it's designed to scramble you a little bit. So patience and kindness and imperfection. I should call that's what I should call the class. Patience, kindness, and imperfection. Or maybe we should just call it life. All right. Do you have an iguana, Summer? Is that what's happening? Oh, yes. I have some other friends who have that.
Bearded dragon, bearded dragon.
Bearded dragon, yeah. I've had bearded dragons grace our classes more than once. That's so great. Okay, got all this. We've got the diagonals. We're up to O. Now what we're doing is we're going to open the compass from point A up to point M. So right up there where that intersection was. And once you've got that, we're giving it a nice circular motion. So we're creating a second circle, right? So we're opening the compass from A up to M, and then just giving that a nice circle. So we've got 2 rings. Once again, very cool place to pause and do some art, should you feel called as you're drawing this. Then what happened, we've got that circle. It's like a story unfolding every time. I believe that gave us some more points. Yes. So where that circle intersects with the vertical and horizontal lines, we are going to label P at the top, right? That intersection with the vertical line. Q on the right, horizontal line with that new circle. R on the bottom, vertical line as well, and then S on the left, horizontal line where it intersects with that circle we drew. I think that's it for the alphabets, but I'm not going to promise. Okay, we've got all that. We've got a lot of letters in here. Now we're going to start with the cubes, right? So you're going to make a square that's going to connect all those letters we just did, right? So P, Q, R, and S. We're going to make a nice square, getting us into the cubology of the tesseract. Seriously, every time I watch that video, I try to get it, and I kind of do, but I mostly don't. I feel like I get glimpses. Like the best we can get are glimpses outside of these dimensional parameters, you know, these blinders, both that we have. And you know, I don't ever go into the explanations or inquiries about why we have the blinders. But if you're interested in that, you can always research that, but do proceed with caution, because it's not such great stuff out there about why we are kept small. Part of the geometry can help, you know, knock on that door. We've got our square. All right, looks like we're stepping back. Okay, good, all 4 sides. Now we're going to do the same thing with the L, the M, the N, and the O. So that's going to give us a beautiful 8-fold geometry. Right, so square on a square. Emotionally preparing you for a lot of erasing. If you like, whether or not, if you have your phone nearby, whichever, it's always fun, and I haven't really guided us in this way thus far. It's fun to take a picture of this diagram before you do all of the erasing, so you can kind of remember everything that it took to get to the shape, right? Because it's like the Pentagon. There's a ton of building, and you get a little bit more complexity with this than the Pentagon, but I think the next step is that we erase. All right, once again, nice deep breath. All right, Madeline's taking it. And the other thing is, that I know I've said this, is it's so cool to take pictures with your phone because it looks completely different on the phone, and you have an excuse to show it off once you've done that. Okay, tons of erasing now. The whole thing goes except the squares. Everything goes except the squares. Yeah. Summer, that's an awesome screensaver thing. I don't even know what that is, like a hawk, like some art. Very cool. Yeah. Oh, I can't hear you though. I know you're talking, but yeah.
It's a drawing that I found a long time ago. I had to exit out of the video so I could take a picture.
Oh, I gotcha. Yeah. And then, you can remember back because so many parts of this shape are really fun to draw. And just, like that's part of why I like to show the art in the beginning, is because different parts of this pattern are beautiful in and of themselves. In and of themselves. In and of themselves. Ooh, tired. All right. And just, I don't know, let's get some existential contemplation here. What about erasing bits in life, right? Like some sort of metaphor for if you could erase, or what emerges in the, what's the word I'm looking for? Dissolution, or the, well, there's a word I'm looking for. Like what's left when you erase? Like what if we could erase? Like what about this idea? Could we let go of things that we thought we needed? All sorts of contemplation that we could go for here. And yeah, Karen.
I was gonna say, it kind of reminds me a little bit of the Tibetan monks that make the intricate sand mandalas and then just blow them away, kind of the impermanence of life, the change.
Yes, there it is. Way to bring it home, Karen. Count on you for the existential pop. Yes, that's exactly it. There's an artist, Andy. There's a lot of different artists. He was one of the first, but the geometric shapes on the beach, right? Or the
Andrew Goldman.
Andrew Goldsworthy. Yes, I love him. He does art that disappears, right? Same with the Tibetan sand drawings, sand mandalas. He'll draw them or he'll create wood sculptures or stone sculptures that go in and out with the tide, or he'll do art with leaves that are in the streams. And Andrew Goldsworthy, if you get a chance to look into it. But basically, anybody and whoever is doing it, we're talking about the impermanence, right? Which is also an element of time. Never went into this before. See how much fun you can have when you ramble?
Rivers and Tides is a good one of his movies.
Rivers and Tides, it's beautiful. I will do my best to remember to put that in the email, but it's a brief documentary that shows all of his different art. But going into the impermanence, now I'm talking too much. My voice is too much. So still erasing. All right. I like to have frequency music on in the background, but if I do it with Zoom, then I think it gets overwhelming. There's too much sound, but I always love to draw with beautiful harmonics in the space. All right. Looking good. Looking like we've got it. Yeah, okay. If you'd like, well, no, just don't darken anything in, just leave the cubes as they are. And you're gonna want these inside lines, right? You don't wanna just do the boundary. You want all 8 lines. All right, everybody got that? Need to that point? All right, a little bit more. I will wait till heads are up. Okay, spectacular. Good. Okay, hi. Okay, the cat is just joining us in the cutest way. All right, we ready for the next? Okay, great. All right, Madeline, you're doing big sweeps of okay, great, got it. Lots of eraser gummies. Okay, so one more alphabet-ish situation, really lightly, because these are easy to erase. So you want to get the A clockwise down and around through H. And, you know, obviously you don't need those, but I use them for the purposes of easy guidance through these next stages. And we're going to just cross the shape. We're just going to be bisecting each from each angle. So we've got A down around up through H. All right. And then those are going to be the guiding. Those are going to show us where the starts and the stops are. All right. So we've got A through H. Looking good. All right. Going on to the next one. Here we go. We're going to connect. I'm going to leave the alphabet bits up there. So we're going to basically just be going across each cube, right? So A down to D. You want to start with that the way I did too. A down to D. Do give a moment's attention to some precision. Not necessary, but it will help us to be able to get another iteration on the inside. So A across and down to D. H down to E, going across the cube. And then it looks like I went to the horizontal plane next. A to D, H to E. And then we went horizontal with B across to G on the top there. And I've got the letters up at top if I go too fast or get too confusing. So B over to G, and then C over to F. Or you could say G to B and F to C, however it works for you. This is one, you remember last week, we had the obtuse angles, right? So the outer border of the open angles would be the obtuse octagon. And then we're drawing the acute octagram, right? So this thing is known by so many ways. We've got an octagram, we've got an octagon, we've got a hypercube and a tesseract and eightfold geometry. You'll see it sometimes. So it's all the same thing. You can do the vertical and the horizontal easy, and then the place your brain starts to break a little bit is on the diagonals, right? So you're gonna cross B down to E and A over to F, and that's on your right angle. However you choose to do this, right? Wherever you are drawn next to do it, where just the letter points are what matter. And right here, this is another really pretty pause point, right? This is another great spot to just find some patterns, like I'm seeing a bunch of things and draw. Now, with the obtuse and the acute, we are creating an inner obtuse, right? So it goes outer obtuse, inner acute, inner obtuse, and then we're going to do an inner acute. We're going to do one more iteration of this, right? Okay. Does everybody have these eight lines? Yeah? Okay. So now what I want you to do is highlight, like darken in, just make a little teeny point on these inner intersections, right? There's 8 of them. So just put a little highlight point on each of those inner intersections, because those are the points we're going to use, right? So each of those internal X marks the spot. It'll be easy. It'll help us to find the next shape, right? So each of those 8 intersections that go around the inside, right? Because we don't have letters for this one, but these are the points we're going to be connecting. Oh my God, so big. So once you have those points, here you go. Here's what we're doing. Connecting them again, right? So down and across, you're just going to parallel the outer shape. You're just going to parallel exactly in a smaller iteration what we just did, right? So 2 points from the top down to the bottom. 2 lines to the right and left on the horizontal. And then 2 lines that cross on each diagonal. Take your time with it, take a breath. Can be like the step before this one is where I notice my brain scramble a little bit. So it's very much like when we do the flower of life or we do, Metatrons, where the symmetry of this is aligning the hemispheres of our brain. Like literally it's doing that. So it creates its own altered state with that symmetry. We are in training to symmetry and coherence. And then, of course, that's when the archangels start coming through. Oh, Sedona. So, right. Coming along here. It looks like it's happening. Great. Okay. All right. Got a bunch of folks on the recording. I can think we're missing about half of everyone. It's amazing to be able to show up any place on time or when you're supposed to, I think, these days. Speaking of time, has anybody noticed the acceleration of time? Like either it's going so fast and it seems like last year was yesterday and yesterday was a year ago. Like there's this strange confluence of time bending, right? And some of the advanced civilizations, are people familiar with Bashar and his channeling? I'll wait on this. I'll come out, but this malleability of time that we're experiencing is really important. It's a really important thing, but I don't want to derail us too much. Does everybody have this shape? We got this? Okay, now if you can see this, we're not going to do it. But if you notice with the patterns, right, the fractals, you could do that pattern again. You could do another 8 lines, except it would be super wonky because it's just hard to get that small. We're not going to do that. Instead, what we're going to do is I want you to bring your attention. We've got an octagon in the center, right? We've got just like a stop sign in there. And now what we're going to do is I believe we are erasing all of those lines that the octagon would be, right? So we've got, it's this inner boundary. Yours looks like this. We're just erasing all of these inner lines. You'll see it. Just take a peek, find that octagon. It's the boundary that surrounds the inner star, right? And you want to just erase those lines. Erase the inner octagon. Right? So it's the mirror of these red lines. You can find them. So they are the lines that cut these cubes, right? This is another way to see it. They bisect the cubes. And you might be symmetrical here. You might not. Likely is that we're not quite symmetrical on the first go around. But you can find these 8 lines and erase them. And this is where that fine tipped eraser tool really starts to help, is to get right into those little spots. And if you don't have one of those, I want to recommend it, especially for the 3 shapes that we have coming up left. Well, 1, 2, 3. 3 shapes, yeah. Everybody finding the octagon in there, in the inner, erasing, okay. Looking good. They're doing great. Okay. Because this is going to begin to give us some of the dimensionality, right? And start to see some of the movement. It's not locked in. Okay. So your shape should look like this. Does this look right? Does everybody have this one? Yep. All right. Got rid of those lines on the center. You can sharpen anything up, make some of the connections if you'd like. We're just going to do one more erasing trick. All right, so we're going to erase the outer stars, right? The outer corners. So all of the corner bits, we're just erasing them and it's going to round off the shape like that. Right, so just erasing those outer triangle points and then poof, there it is. Kind of sneaks up on you. It's like the others, you know, you're sort of back engineering and then all of a sudden it's right there. Yeah. And I'm telling you, it took me 3 different times to try and sequence this thing right. So I promise you this is the right way. And like I said, we could just draw 2 lines parallel or 2 cubes and then connect with 2 parallel lines and you're still going to get a tesseract. But this is the fun way. This is like showing you how the seed leads into the Metatrons, right? There's the foundational piece. All right. So here's our tesseract. Looks like it's coming along. Yeah. Look right. All right, thumbs up. Let's see it. Let's do a little screen share. How'd it go? What do you think? Should I put it back up?
I don't think I erased properly.
Okay, here, let me
Can you
put it
go
back
back?
up for you. Yeah, there you go. It's all the outer corners. All right. There's so there's an inner octagon, and here you go. It's all of these outer triangle points. These all go. Those diamonds that sorry, the triangles that they make the boundary, right? And so you take those off and then you've got a fairly obtuse octagon. How's that look? Does that fit? Did you find them, Karen?
I think I did.
Okay.
I drew the inner octagon lines
Mhm.
too firmly.
Yes.
So it's hard to completely erase them because there's the indentation in the paper.
Yes.
So next time around, I'll do it lighter because that shape is there, but it's not.
Yes, exactly. I mean, you can see that with the one I did as well. It's, you know, it's next level to do the lines so lightly. This is the first one we've done. You can't
Yeah.
possibly plan on that. So, all right. Anybody up for sharing and saying a little bit? Our Summer's jumping in. Fabulous. Let's see it. All right. Here we go. Woo! Look at that. What do you think?
That was hard. My brain was like, whoa, whoa, ah.
Mm-hmm.
Wait, we're racing. We're
Yeah.
racing.
Yeah, but we found it though, right?
We found
Backwards.
it, yeah.
Mhm.
So I was initially gonna draw. I did draw the center in again, but then I felt like I was going too far, and so I
Mhm.
just erased it again.
Mhm.
And I'm noticing that in comparing mine to yours, my lines right here on
Mhm.
these center spots are
Mhm.
farther away from that point right there. So they're not
Yes.
as close to that line. And I don't think
Yes.
that it's wrong. I just think that it's, in comparing yours to mine, it's throwing my brain off. I'm like, whoa, it's different.
Well, I am fully in support of throwing your brain off, but you know, the thing is that's the first one you've done. So of course it's gonna, you know, be a little bit different than what you
Yeah.
thought it was gonna be. Who knows? Yeah. So patience and compassion and kindness. It's beautiful though. It looks, I mean, you got it. It's just right. Yes. Very supportive brain breaking here. Non-consensus states of reality. All right. Thank you for leading us off. Anybody want to share theirs next? Yeah, Madeline, how did it go?
I just went back and darkened lines because I had erased so much that everything was too light.
Yes.
But I'm not 100% sure. Like, is it? Can you see?
Come a little bit. Let's see. Yes. Yeah. What do
I
you
have? I'm not sure. Do I have everything?
You do. It's perfect.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. And
It's
it's
a little
so
light.
interesting. Yeah, if you take a picture of it, and this is another place to take a picture of it, and you'll see it super differently. But yeah, you've got it.
Okay.
And this is another place to stare at it for a minute, right? And just watch, because the different cubes will emerge.
Mhm.
But you have
Okay.
to just have to play for a minute and sit and have a good cup of tea and just stare at it. So yeah, no,
Thanks.
perfect. Well done.
Okay.
Did you have an observation or process around it?
I just wasn't expecting to erase the lines that we erased. And so it was like a mystery as it was unfolding. I had no idea where we were going.
Yeah, it's like with those little origami things,
Mhm.
like you just kind of, I don't know if that's a great analogy, but yes, it's back engineering geometry. For
Mhm.
sure.
No, it's cool. I like it.
Cool. All right. They're all so different, aren't they? Like they just have such different flavors. And I just love having a series class where we can do a bunch of them. All right, Karen. Yeah.
Let's see if this is, I don't know if this is it or not.
Hang on a second. Yo, wow. Yes. Beautiful. Yes.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I actually used my whiteout
Oh, yeah, I've done that.
because the lines were that dark.
Well, it looks, I wouldn't have known you used that at all on it. It just looks like a perfect drawing. What do you think? What are your observations?
I'm
Can we see it again?
I'm not seeing it the same way that I saw it.
Uh-huh.
Is that it?
Yes, that's it. You've got it. Yep. It just takes a minute. It takes a minute of staring
Oh,
at it. Here.
I
Yeah.
saw it.
Okay.
I saw it. Yeah.
That's
Weird.
so great.
Yeah, it is. Now it's
Yeah.
gone, but I saw
Yeah.
it.
I know glimpses. Take a picture of it. It'll show up. But you all have, I'm coming. You all have this one. And if you want to play with highlighting it in different ways, I like this one. Hang on. This is my favorite. You have this, right? And it's the way they've colored it, you can see different aspects of it, but you all have this one, right?
Wait, what we just drew is that?
Yes, you have this. Yes. Mm-hmm. It takes a minute for your brain. You're gonna have to stare at it for a little bit. Just sit back, make a cup of tea, and play with it. So, but you have this.
I'm going to
Just-
try coloring mine like that to play with it.
I will send this to you in the email. All right.
Thank you.
Yes, and then you remember, here's what happens, right? Is on the bottom. This is if you shine the light, if you were to shine the light through this shape, you can only do it in a computer animation. This is what you have on the bottom. So again, that 90% of our subconscious mind is recognizing the larger shape of this. And this is how it turns out. Isn't that cool? So cool. All right.
This is funny. So I have a protractor and I have a
Yes.
ruler,
Yes.
but my brain was so focused on trying to figure out how to draw this. I was looking for my protractor and I found it just now because I took a step back and it was sitting right here next to my piece of paper. I was so like, what's how this drawing is hard.
It's the yay, we have accomplished scramble. That's exactly what we were going for. And after the classes, I mean, it's this 2-hour effort, but if you can pause and just with any kind of breath practice that you have to just sort of like be in that fuzz, like be in that non-linear scramble just for a minute, because you're going to open up new neural pathways in that spaciousness, right? So there's so much happening. It looks like, oh, we're just drawing a really cool shape. Dude, so much. So you gotta trust me on that. Karen, I'll send you that image. Does it look, can you see it in yours though a little bit more? Yeah.
I can see it better when I look at it on Zoom.
Yeah. Oh, here you go. Do you want just one more time then? Let's see it.
Oh, thank
Yeah.
you.
Yeah.
It just
Yeah.
yes, see there I see it.
Isn't that amazing?
There's something
Yeah.
about on the computer
Mhm.
where I can see it.
Yeah.
But-
Well, the other thing is you've just been in this, right? It's like you're too intimately connected with it too.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
Perspective and view. It just
Yeah.
I can't wait to create those new neural pathways and just start to think in 4-dimension.
You know,
And
it
see in
really,
4-dimension.
it does, it happens. It really happens. I mean, I'd really like to, you know, hang out in other dimensional realms, and sometimes I can, but this is the next step, right? This is the next step towards expanding your sensory awareness, towards understanding non-local communication beyond time and space, telepathy, remote viewing, all of the senses that we have to say, yes, I believe that exists before they open up. So there's what's happening. And then Leiko, do you want to share what you've got? No pressure, no requirement. And oh, we gotta take you off the blur probably, which you're pro at by now. All right. Yes. Let's see. What are we doing the rest of our time? I think we're going to do that. All right.
Unmute myself.
Okay. Tell us what you think.
Okay.
Oh, it's so pretty. Yeah.
All right. Is this right?
Yeah. Come a little bit closer, maybe. Oh, there. Yes. Have you gone color already?
I'm starting to color it in. Yeah. Just to, I'm coloring in the squares to see where all those squares are, and then yeah.
What do you think?
And see how it pops out. And that was a lot. That was a lot of erasing.
It's a
I
lot.
kind of missed some of my circles, but I like this. I like this. This was a good exercise.
Nice. Well, it's a good exercise of perseverance. Yes. Yes. All right. Okay. So I think we are going to finish up with a little video. It's called Sonic Geometry. And this is the coolest thing. And I've finally figured out how to get the sound right so you all can hear the tones. So we talked about cymatics, right? We just did a little blurb on frequency and tone and geometry. So this is a video, I think it's like 12 minutes, so it'll be right under the wire, that talks about how sound has geometric structure, right? So it's cymatics again, but this thing, the idea is, you know, like with all the classes, is that you start to go, wait, there's a grand design here. Like there is no such thing as coincidence. So we're going to see how a lot of it comes together. And we're only going to watch half of it, and the rest of it gets really deep off the rails. So I will send you the rest of it. I hope you watch it. And we will get into this. I met this guy. His name is Eric Rankin, and he's super cool. And we're going to do this. And then we're doing this. It's going to go all the way. And here we go. Everybody can hear it. I'm going to say, if I don't hear you, then it's playing.
It has been said that if there is ever to be such a thing as a true universal language, it will most likely be expressed in the realms of mathematics, geometry, energy patterns, and frequency. Could it be that this language, or at least the foundation of it, already exists here on Earth? Is it possible that over the course of thousands of years, we have been somehow guided in the process of creating this new form of communication? And if so, what type of information will be conveyed through it that could not be expressed any other way? In the search for answers, we must be prepared to trek through both time and space, to open our eyes and minds wide enough to notice compelling coincidences, and to stand back far enough to see if the building blocks of some kind of mathematical, spatial, frequency-based language emerge. But before we begin our journey, we will pause here in the present day to notice some of the ways that we measure and tabulate the world around us. This is an important step, for how we count and measure things can be as revealing as why we count them. First, we will take a look at the way we measure time. For all practical purposes, the smallest unit is 1 second, and we all know it takes 60 seconds to make a minute, and then 60 of these minutes to make an hour. This hour, of course, is the unit by which we divide our days, and these days become months, years, decades, centuries, and so on. Speaking of 60, let's take a moment to notice that all geometry, whether it is 2 or 3 dimensional, is also derived from base 60 mathematics that provide the foundation for a 360-degree circle, which in turn provides us with all the angles and formulas for creating virtually every shape known to humankind. Now let's look at how many cultures from all over the world have chosen to count and group things. Right away, we see that we have been attracted to the number 12. 12 eggs in a dozen, 12 months in a year, 12 inches in a foot, 12 signs of the zodiac. Strangely, whether it's tallying disciples or mythical gods, the number 12 appears often in the telling of our greatest stories about ourselves. And what about distance? Your local town might be measured in meters or other units, but when we talk about measuring our planet, the standards we all use revert back to base 60 units of miles, minutes, or geometrical degrees. Are you noticing the pattern here? We seem to be encountering a lot of 12s and 60s. Are they related? And if so, how? To answer that piece of the puzzle, we must travel roughly 5,000 years back in time to visit the ancient Sumerian culture of Mesopotamia, for here is where our 1260-based math comes from. This counting system, which was invented by the same people who produced the world's first written language, involved counting the knuckles of the 4 long fingers on one hand and then multiplying them by all 5 digits on the other hand. If you do this, you will get a maximum number of 12 knuckles times 5 fingers, which of course totals 60. How these cosmic jumps in language and mathematics occurred so suddenly is open to debate, but it is interesting to note that the ancient Sumerians themselves wrote about being given this information by sky god visitors they called the Anunnaki. Who and what the Anunnaki were is a hotly contested subject, but one thing that cannot be denied is the fact that over 5,000 years ago, a mathematical system was born that incredibly still serves us today. So now that we have our various units of measurement, all based on the Sumerian 1260 counting system, let's jump forward to a few pivotal moments in history and see what other numbers, patterns, and synchronicities appear. In the 6th century BC, on the Greek island of Samos, the famed mathematician Pythagoras led a school of thought that married philosophy, mathematics, music, and of course geometry. And while Pythagoras did not discover advanced geometry, he did apply it in new ways, especially to music. For instance, he noticed that when a tauten string was plucked, it would create a tone. And when that string was divided in half, it would make the same tone, only twice as high in pitch. Pythagoras then came up with numerical ratios based on harmonic fifths, and this led to the creation of the musical scale found at the root of most modern music. It is important to note that according to Pythagoras, all musical notes were found by using mathematics, and as such were given number values according to their placement in a kind of master grid. For instance, by using fifths beginning from note number 1, he was eventually guided to note 27. And to find the same note twice as high in pitch, he simply kept doubling it to 54, 108, 216, 432, and so on up the scale. If you've ever heard of Pythagorean tuning, you know that the number 432 is quite important. To Pythagoras himself, it probably wouldn't have stood out more than any other in his numerical grid. But in our quest to find a universal language based on mathematics and frequency, this particular note represents a significant piece of coincidental evidence. You see, many ancient musical instruments, from Tibetan bowls to Native American flutes, happen to produce the same tone, a tone that vibrates at 432 cycles per second. That's compelling, but even more intriguing is the fact that Pythagoras was not calculating vibration cycles to find tone 432. It just happens to be the same number. What's more, for decades, most modern musical instruments were also tuned to this same 4th octave A, with a value of 432 cycles. How could this be? Who chose this particular note as the keystone for instrument tuning, and more importantly, why? Here is where a deeper mystery begins to emerge, and to explore it we will need to go back to Pythagoras' other passion, geometry. It is not an exaggeration to say that to Pythagoras and his disciples, geometry and math held a key to the nature of all life everywhere, and maybe it does. Let's look at the first 4 geometric shapes, the circle, triangle, square, and pentagon. In each of them are angles of degrees that when added together always total a specific number relative to that particular shape. For instance, if we take a triangle, the sum total of all 3 interior angles is always 180. For both the square and circle, it is 360. For a pentagon, it is 540. Now at this moment, let's step back and look at these numbers in a different way. as there seems to be something about them that reaches beyond a simple sum of angles. Did you notice that they happen to be in the same numerical neighborhood as tone 432? What's more, they all add up to 9, just like 432. As an experiment, let's take a look at the numbers found in basic geometric shapes, then apply those numbers as vibration cycles to hear the tones they produce. First, let's listen to what the 180 total degrees contained in a triangle sound like. And here's a squares and circles 360 in cycles per second. A perfect octave up from the triangle. What about the pentagon at 540? That sounds like a harmonic fifth of the other two. That's interesting. What are these tones? They are F sharp and its perfect harmonic fifth of C sharp. Let's keep going. What does a hexagon 720 sound like? Another F sharp. Here's a seven-sided septagon, which totals 900.
I drew that.
This is an A sharp, which happens to be the note required to complete an F sharp major chord in perfect three-part harmony. And finally the octagon, where we get 1080, another C sharp. Suddenly, geometry is expressed by tones, and these tones just happen to create the most beautiful form of music, a perfect three-part major chord in the key of F sharp. Is this something we've been missing for years? Is it important?
Yes.
To the famous philosopher and mathematician Plato, the answer would have been a resounding yes, for it is Plato who advanced the study of two-dimensional geometry into three-dimensional geometry, and who began to recognize that nature, whether expressed as a tone, the petal design of a flower, or the spiraling design of a seashell, seemed to follow a 3D mathematical pattern. In fact, it became an obsession of Plato to try and find the simplest three-dimensional geometric shapes, and his quest ultimately revealed what we now call the Platonic solids. In essence, these forms represent the most elemental construction blocks found both in human-made and natural forms. So let's see if and how they fit into our geometry tone grid. First, there is the tetrahedron, or a three-sided pyramid comprised of 4 interlocking triangles. As we did before, let's add up all the angles found in those 4 triangles. The answer, 720, which we have already seen is the tone F sharp. Next, we have the cube, whose 6 360-degree squares totals 2160. What does it sound like? $2160 is a high C sharp, and as you will see later, a very interesting number for other reasons as well. Next up is the octahedron. Constructed of 8 triangles, this shape totals 1440, which is another perfect F sharp higher up the scale. The icosahedron is made up of 20 triangles, so the total number of degrees is 3600. As a tone, 3600 vibration cycles create the A sharp needed to complete yet another F sharp major chord that sounds like this. At this point, we have seen how 2- and 3-dimensional geometry can be expressed by the notes found in an F sharp major chord. Could this also be true with what is known as sacred geometry?
Yes.
To find out, we will first need to build a design called the germ of life, which, when repeated, goes on to reveal the seed of life, then flower of life pattern found at sacred sites all over the world. First, we start with a circle at 360 degrees, which is the familiar F sharp. We then add our second circle, bringing the total to 720, another F sharp. 3 circles totals 1080, which provides the harmonic fifth of C sharp. 4 circles is 1440, another F sharp. 5 circles totals 1800, or the A sharp needed to once again provide the harmonic third of an F sharp major chord. And finally the 6th circle, which brings the total to 2160, another C sharp. Amazing! It's as if we can now both see and hear the flower of life pattern that has intrigued humankind for thousands of years. So now we have 2-dimensional geometry, 3-dimensional geometry, and even sacred geometry being represented by different variations of an F sharp major chord. How is this not common knowledge? How have we missed this connection? There are actually 3 explanations. 1, for reasons ranging from the mundane to the conspiratorial, musical instruments are no longer tuned to an A vibrating at 432 cycles per second, but rather 440. 2, modern tuning calls for equal temperament, which no longer adheres to Pythagoras' whole number simplicity. And 3, the tuning method required to reveal geometric shapes is based on a mathematical grid rather than mathematical ratios. This grid, if it had a name, would probably be called something like factor 9, because the number 9 is found not only in the sum of every note on the grid, but also as the number required to move up or down the scale. For instance, if we started at note A at 216 cycles, all we would have to do is add or subtract the number 9 to reveal all the other tones in that octave. And it is here, on this incredible factor 9 grid, that we find not just some of our geometric numbers, but all of them. Conversely, modern A440 tuning reveals not one correlation to geometric numbers. Now let's go back for a moment and take a look at one of these numbers, 2160.
Well, that's it. All right.
You'll
So-
send us the link so we can watch the rest of that?
I will. Bum, bum,
Thank you.
bum. Yeah, it gets cooler and cooler. But I mean, doesn't like someone like I know a little bit about 1440. Some of us know like 144,000 of the, I don't know, whatever the chosen, I don't know, the significance and the symbolism of all these numbers. Like, you know, the number 9 and how extraordinarily complex our reality is made up of like simple number sequences, like all of those numbers reduced to 9. Like, this is mind-boggling stuff if you go into it, you know. I mean, it's just, and then we talked in the cymatics about how, you know, that's all 432 and the wisdom of harmonics, and now things are at 440, and what is that kind of fragmentation? You know, it's, I will send the rest of that video. I'm so glad to have piqued your curiosity. Drives me nuts that he uses the word coincidence, but there's nothing to do about it. Anybody have any closing thoughts before we finish up? All right.
Wow.
Wow. Karen, yeah, wow.
Wow.
Yay.
It's my
That's what we're going
closing.
I stopped and
Word.
counted all my knuckles.
I know, did you count it?
I was like, I never thought about it. I have 12 knuckles on each hand. I never counted all my knuckles.
No, I haven't either. I haven't either. Yeah. Yeah, right there at our fingertips, literally.
I was noticing that in that like sort of brown background
Mm-hmm,
color that it had on the screen,
mm-hmm.
all of the sacred geometry was popping out of just like that sort of color. It was kind of interesting. It would have the numbers on the screen on top of that, and then all the shapes were coming out from behind the number on the, it was like I could feel my brain just it was just turning.
Yeah. Is that a new experience of just feeling your brain? Like, does that feel new in that?
Yeah, it was like, it just felt like a different way. I felt like I was learning. Like my brain was processing new information in a way that I've never consciously, actually, physically felt my brain processing.
Yay. Awesome. Yay for new experiences, right? Like new ways of processing, new ways of learning. It's just new. It's fun. You know, neuroplasticity opens new worlds, right? And we did this octagon and all this sort of convoluted drawing and all this, consideration of different perceptual realities. And then here's this number theory suggesting that there's this larger orchestration as well, right? Like we should be blown out now. like this is good time after the class to just sit and breathe together. Leiko, did you have any thoughts before we do? We'll take a couple breaths and then finish up.
It just started raining so hard here. Like
Nice.
pouring down rain.
Oh, I love it.
It's nice.
Yeah. Yeah. Good. I'll take some rain here. I'm super parched in the high desert. All right, let's do that. Let's take 3 breaths together and just ground in all of this information. Nice deep breath through the nose. Just connecting with your body, grounding. Deep breath in. At your own pace, just remembering this dimension. Deep breath into the expansion and the connectedness of us all. Exhaling, feeling how we are together on this journey. I'm so appreciative of you all being here. And I want to encourage you to take a minute after we close out and breathe some more and just ground all of the information. So much of this is heady that we want to bring it into the experiential. So we'll finish up for now, but please do continue to give yourself a moment with the shape and with yourself, and breathe into the tingles, like breathe into that weird spaciousness, and like capitalize on it, Okay, look forward to next week. I will include that image of the tesseract and I will include the link. And then there was one other thing and I'll remember it. Okay. Thank you all so much and have a wonderful week. And I will see you next Wednesday. Bye for now.